everyone, this is Star Zena 33, Laura Francesca, talking to you about the full moon in Sagittarius. That rules countries, it rules higher learning, it rules travel. And there is this full moon that is happening right now, okay? So we're still under the portal. And I'm going to be talking about what to expect, a little bit on the predictions, and see if it relates to anyone. And it could relate to you, it could relate to another person, and so forth. And so I'm very excited to talk about this. Is why I have the cheery music on, just to motivate and uplift people that might not be feeling so well. Okay, when it comes to this full moon, or just unexpected things that are going on. Okay, thank you for listening to the podcast here at the Astroweather Celestial Clockwork. And this is happening under this clockwork, okay? And I do these weekly, and you can listen to them and hear the predictions that I talk about both in English and Spanish. And I'm going to be doing the Spanish right after this, but I'm going to, take a little break, a couple of hours, and then this evening I'm going to be podcasting the Spanish one. Okay. So this Sagittarius full moon is very important. Okay. It rules countries, it rules philosophy, it rules travel, expansion, ruled by Jupiter. However, it is on a full moon. Okay, so there is something that is being released. Okay, there's something that we are letting go, and to everybody is going to be different. That's why it's really good that you know your chart. If you don't know your chart and you want to get a reading with me, you can head out to www.starzenit33.com. Okay, and so there, there's several type of charts that you can order, right? And if not, you can do it yourself. Okay, not a problem. You can do it yourself. But my information is more intuitively and analytically as well. So it's best if you get a reading from somebody. I even get readings from, well, I not really so much, but usually like my solar chart. I usually order it from a specific astrologer, and that I trust, and and combine it with my energy and what I know. But even though I still invest in other astrologers as well. So and it's only because I don't want to be limited just to my information. You want to be open-minded, and you want to be able to learn from everyone as well. Maybe they see something that I didn't, and so anyway, so let's talk about the Sagittarius. The degree is very important. It's a 9 degree, and it's a degree of Sagittarius, so it's a double Sagittarius here. Okay, and 9, we know, it's also in numerology, is the number of completion, and that's where everything ends. Okay, also it rules adaptation. So we can adapt to certain behaviors, certain patterns. And let me have my tea here. Um, you can adapt to an environment, you can adapt to family, just generational, themes going on there. So it depends what you adapt to, of what you put up with, I guess. And so it's on a full moon is saying that we have to release, right? Of adapting too much. Adapting is good, but then it's not, because if you're adapting to something that's not helping you grow, then why are you doing that? I would say, it's good to adapt to certain environments that that they're all making money, they're all elevating, they're all helping out each other. That's a good environment to adapt to, right? But if it's an environment that's not growing, that is just not prospering, like for instance, Los Angeles, right? what's going on right now, the whole political arena between Karen Bass and Spencer over there, and trying to be the leader to clean up LA, right? And so if you adapt to that type of environment, you're not going to grow. You're going to stay stuck in that same type of environment. So the 9 degree is not really so well when it comes to having you stuck in a certain thought, a certain environment, a certain pattern, that is not growing. It's just kind of saying, for example, okay, when it comes to family and ancestry, and it's like, well, we always cook tortillas, on our own from home from scratch. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love home cooked tortillas, right? They actually taste more yummier. But it does require for you to, it takes a little bit longer, and I don't know if I have the patience for that because there's always something going on in my life, right? But that now they have those machines, right? Those the pressers, right? They even sell in the supermarkets, Hispanic supermarkets, and it's a tortilla presser, and you just put the masa in there, and you crush it, and it becomes a tortilla, right? Probably if my grandma see me doing that, she's like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing?" Um, because she was very like Virgo, very traditional, and if you do it with the presser, it's like, you're cheating. It's so interesting. I remember my sister-in-law, she was visiting, it's been a couple of years, but she was visiting, and I think it was like 2 years ago or something. And I was warming up some tortillas in the kitchen, and I didn't want to burn my fingers. So I grabbed, I think it was a fork or one of those tonses that, you flip, tortillas or whatever. Or maybe it's not traditional to use that utensil to flip the tortillas, but it could be for other things like meat or something. So anyway, I used one of those tongs, and I flipped the tortilla, and she kind of like, oh my God, Laura, are you serious? Like, are you? But we all make fun of each other, whatever, just like kind of fun. But especially her, because I guess she's very traditional. She's a Taurus. She said, "Oh my God, Laura, I cannot believe you just did that." And I'm like, "Did what?" I didn't think it was a big deal. And she's like, "You flipped the tortilla with that tongs." And I'm like, "Yeah, because I don't want to get burned." She's like, "Oh my God, just flip it with your hand." And I was like, no, I don't want to get burned. And so it was just that kind of thing. We were both laughing. We were laughing like, ah, ha, ha, like so funny. Um, but she goes, I cannot believe you flipped it. You need to flip. In other words, like, I'm not traditional enough. And because that's what happens. Because when you're real traditional, you turn over the tortilla with your fingers, with your hand. I'm like, well, I have nails on, so I do not want to burn my nails or my fingers or nothing like that. So I use tongs. It must be the Libra in me, my moon in Libra, right? Um, so anyway, just kind of funny, that I just want to talk a little bit about that with when you're traditional and when you're not traditional. And so there's this adapting of having to follow the rules of, this is what we do. This is always, the ancestors have always done it this way. We'll do a woo, and then, but you're just a rebel, and you're just, you got too much, rebel in you or something, and you just want to do it different, want to innovate, want to, prevent any, burns on your hands or something, or fingers, right? So anyway, so that could be in the whole adaptation. Okay, so let's talk about the Siberian symbol on the 9 degree, which is another type of frequency that I always talk about when I'm doing these full moons and new moons and eclipses and everything else. Okay. So Sagittarius 9, I've seen a couple of the Siberian symbols, and this one I think I like the most because I think it could relate to everybody. I shared one last night on X, on my X account, and it was about a mother walking her child and teaching the child how to become successful. That's what it was. But the picture was like a little girl dressed all in white, and her mom was also dressed in white. She was like a young mom or something, and she was teaching her how to walk down the stairs, and they also were going up the stairs, right? So that's about success and so forth. And you know, um, not everybody has a child. So I didn't really kind of relate to that, because this is maybe for the parents that do have a child. It maybe, the Sibin symbol of 9 was about raising your child up. Those that do have children and are raising little girls or little boys, it was about raising them to be successful in life, and being responsible as a parent. But I happened to look at another one where it says dreams and schemes along the way. So I like this one better because this is more for like the collective. It doesn't really have a picture of a child or anything. But it does have like this piano that is it's all the way up and it's going all the way down, and the color is pink and yellow. Okay. So this is what it means here. The Sagittarius 9, it's the message is still the same, okay? Which is a mother with her children on stairs. It says this is a symbol of extreme alertness to the interests and needs of others and of high competency in pursuing any and all ideal ends in view. There's a basic emphasis on the inescapable duty of man to remember that he is his brother's keeper and that he must develop and demonstrate a genuine social conscience. Here are the fine fruits of service to humanity, evident in the individual's continual rounding out of his community usefulness and the increasing compensate he gains through the approbation of his fellows. The key word here is education. When positive, the degree is effective response to every personal challenge in everyday affairs. And when negative, immature act and reaction. Okay, it comes to pass you are either ascending or descending. Both sets of skills are required. To master the stair steps, bumps and bruises are part of the rite of passage. Can't fall up, only down. By the way, but you can stumble. So watch your step. You only have to focus on the one right in front of you. In fact, if you don't, if you look ahead or behind, that's where the bumps and bruises are falling. That's where the bumps, bruises, and falling down things are sure to occur. Power is the present step. But this isn't just about development of a practical and necessary skill. The stairway is a passageway of ascension or descension. It is that amazing assembly by which we enter either higher or lower level and dimensions. After learning to walk, a mother knows her child must now master the stairs. Mother, may I? She asks. Yes, you may, she says. Fortunately, loved ones are standing by as we learn to navigate. At first, she or he will carry you up and down those stairs, save you from your premature curiosity as you crawl dangerously towards discovery, then the holding of your hand as you make your first attempts. Eventually, you will be trusted to be on your own, but may forget to appreciate the assistance you had along the way. It's so interesting. This is about appreciating your mentor, appreciating your coach, appreciating the person that has the information to teach you along the way. Leave me alone. I can do it myself, she says. She kind of reminds me of me. I'm not gonna lie. I think when we're rebels, we can want to do it on our. And I had happened to share a story when I was in network marketing that I like to do things on my own because I felt that the way they were working the business was not the right way and it was not going to last, which is a prediction that came to pass. It did, that company did not last. Um, and I'm not saying because of me, but I just think that they were under bad leadership. So, it's interesting where she says here, leave me alone. I can do it myself. Um, a good tumble at this point is nothing more than nature's reminder that there are reasons we aren't here alone. Then she will come and wipe away the tear, bandage the bloody knee, and retie the loose shoe strings. Before you know, before you know it, you'll be up and at it again with renewed confidence. We are learning, you see, about the ups and downs of life. And that's normal. If you fall, you get back up, and that is what life is about. It's not about perfection. It's about, if you didn't fall, you wouldn't have known. And now that you know, you won't do it again, right? It's a lesson learned. But some people just don't listen, right? They continue following the same way every year, every year, every year. It says, all she expects of us is the best we can do, can give, nothing more, nothing less. That will always be good enough. And then one day it will happen. One day you will exclaim, look, Ma, I did it. And she will smile and wink back. I always knew you could. So, and it says, dreams and schemes along the way, blessed be. And so these are just examples. Um, let me see what it says here. Okay, so that's basically what is symbolized. So it's, the mother and the child, and the child doesn't have to be a child, or if you don't have a child, it could be the people you're mentoring, the people that you're coaching, okay, the people that you are inspiring, right? And they don't have to be little kids, okay? They could be young people, okay? Maybe you're a little bit more older and you have more experience, and you can teach them and so forth, and they can teach you, or you can learn from much other older people, of what they've done and what they've experienced, and you're teaching them along the way. Okay. So it doesn't have to be your own child, and it doesn't have to be a young child. It could just be like, for instance, I'm a Generation X. Okay. And so I could be teaching, which I normally do attract a lot of them. But you know what? Lately, actually, I attract much older people. I do. I would like to attract younger people, because I do have that youthful energy, but I can also be very serious as well. But I have that very Gen Z, based on my draconian chart, which is your soul chart, which my soul, it lights up and is very energetic and is very fun and bubbly and very childlike. And that's where they get me wrong, where they think they could get away with stuff with me. And then it turns out that the mature Laura comes out, and it's like, no, you can't, just because my bubbly childlike comes out, which is my soul, which is very generational X. I mean, very generational Z, Gen Z, yeah, Gen Z, and so I'm an X. So there's Gen Z, and then there's millennials, right? Which is Gen Y. But based on my chart, I looked at my chart, my soul chart, okay, and I have a lot of Gen Z, like Neptune in Aquarius, and what's another, Pluto in Sagittarius is another Gen Z, and that's a Capricorn and Uranus, that's more millennial, that's more Gen Y. But it's in between Gen Y and Gen Z that my soul lights up, like just like fun and bubbly and so forth, but it just comes out when I'm happy, or I love fun music, I love raves, and I love all of that, um, so it's interesting, just how my energy just comes out when I'm having fun, but there's this social responsibility when it comes to teaching the young people, okay, of having to teach them, um, how to be successful, okay, what you've gone through, so they won't go through it, but there still has to be some falls that they have to go through, or else they're not going to learn anything, right? Because nobody taught you how to fall. You fell, right? You got up by yourself, you dusted yourself, and you kept going, right? And so it's good to help other people, but it's not good to rescue them. Like, for instance, I shared the story of my turtle. And my turtle, my turtle's my baby. Okay, he's my baby. And he walks around all the house, but lately he's been very rebellious, very, and I could tell it's the planets. Very rebellious. He makes a lot of noise when he wants to get out of the aquarium. He grabs a lot of attention. He gets really mad. He gets mad now if you don't take him out of the aquarium. And I have him a little bit punished because he's been trying to bite my feet. Okay. And I don't know what's going on with him. I hope nothing's wrong with him, but he just wants to bite my feet. And I'm like, are you angry or something? And so he was making these spectacles in the living room as I took him out of the aquarium, and he was trying to go through these holes, and this furniture, it doesn't have holes, it's a metal black furniture, but there's you know it has like diagrams and all this stuff, right? So you could go in, and he as a pet, you could go in, you could go out, and so forth. That's what I mean by holes, the way it's made. And so he was climbing on there, and I was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? And he was just a rebel. Like, he was so determined, and I let him, but I was afraid that he was going to probably crack his shell or something. But I trusted that, okay, he wants to be a rebel, let him be a rebel, right? If something happens, I'll run to him, right? And it's that responsibility of having to teach them, and having to trust that, you know he's a rebel, and it's what he wants to do. So let him do it. And I looked at him from far, and he made it. Like, he jumped out of there like if he was jumping in a pool or something. He took like a dive or something. He leaped, in other words. And I was like, whoa, I didn't think he was going to make it, and he did. So he's very rebellious. What he's teaching me is to take leaps, right? To not be afraid, and just to take leaps. And so we're teaching each other. But I was very proud of him. I even clapped for him. I clapped for him because I was like, yay, you did it. I can't believe you did it. And so that is it. That is the same example here with the Siberian symbol, where it's saying, mother, may I? And say, yes, you may. So I let the turtle do what it wanted to do. And then it said, leave me alone. I could do it myself. And I'm like, okay. And then he says, look, Ma, I did it. And with a smile, and she looks, and she smiles at him, and she winks at him and says, I knew you could do it, right? So is this mom that is proud of the child that was able to reach a success, a pinnacle, or a graduation, or something where it's like, it learned and it graduated, and it went on to do big things, right? And so that is the social responsibility that we have when we're teaching other people, right? And helping them graduate along so they can make a difference. So that is what the Sagittarius 9 degree is. It is about countries, international, also marketing, I do have to say. Where you have that 9 degree, it rules, because it rules countries, it's international eyeballs. And so when you have international eyeballs, it's marketing. Okay. So everybody is looking at what you're marketing, what you're doing, and so forth. So that is the Siberian symbol for Sagittarius 9. So the reason I say is because you might encounter some situations within this full moon that you are releasing some certain you know, you're releasing things, Sagittarius themes in your life, that maybe they have not helped you grow. Maybe you got to make a list, and make a list of the things that have not helped you grow, so you won't do that again. Okay. And it's a lesson learned. So now you're going to, invest in the things that help you grow, that can give you results, that, you know, um, that just, can make you feel more prosperous, right? Because what's the point of trying to learn something you're not making money out of it, right? And so we're supposed, so release those things that disempower you, release those things that block your goodness, your good luck, your opportunities. Okay. You cannot be in that environment, cannot be in, it could be environments, it could be people, it could be situations, location, whatever it is, right? That pertains to Sagittarius themes. Okay. If they're takers and they're not givers, then you know what you need to do. You got to let go. Okay. So that is what the Sagittarius 9 uh, Sabian symbol is. It is about teaching and taking responsibility upon others so that they can elevate. Okay. So that the key word here is education. Okay. That rules Sagittarius: philosophy, ideals, higher education. Okay. And so that is our responsibility, right? So now that we get off that topic, and I say it because you might encounter situations or, let go of certain education, or that just is not empowering you, is not helping you grow. Okay. And you invest in something else. Okay. Um, Another thing, too, here that I do want to talk about now, okay, is the full moon chart. Okay, now we're going into the astrology. The moon here is at 9 degrees. It commenced at 1:45 of the morning. Okay, so here at in the West Coast, Pacific Standard Time, and so the moon in Sagittarius. It started in the ninth house also. So we're seeing this pattern of nines. Okay, so not only is Sagittarius ruled by the ninth house, but it was at 9 degrees where it started, and it in the ninth house. So 999. That's an ending. Okay, and the ninth house has to do with higher learning. Okay, and it has to do with society, it has to do with publishing, expansion, travel. Okay, it has to do with foreign dealings, with commerce, import export. Okay, it has to do with spiritual factors as well, beliefs, the church, all of that. Okay. um, Also, I do have to say Taurus also rules the church. Okay, but Sagittarius rules uh, like religious factors. It could also be New Age as well. But anything that has to do with beliefs. Okay, and psychologically, it's where we gain knowledge. Okay, the understanding of information, which can imply anything symbolic towards astrology, numerology, mathematics, the Kabbalah, symbolism, all of that when it comes psychologically, okay, when it comes to Sagittarius, ruling countries. And so the moon at 9 degrees, this is where the full moon is, okay, and is coming together with Tai Chi. Now, this asteroid of Tai Chi here has to do with money, big money. And so it could be a windfall, either good or bad. But I feel it's good because when we release, which is what the full moon is about, then something enters, right? So there could be this windfall of money. It could be lottery gains. It could, of course, if you play, right? It could be maybe playing the casino. You don't have to go overboard, but you could just kind of test out your luck. It could be in some other way where you feel lucky, where maybe people are just giving you donations. Maybe people are starting to support you. And it has to do with at 15. Yeah, I'm hearing the word wealth. The word wealth is coming down. See, this is why I like to do the podcast, because when I hear downloads as I'm doing the podcast, and that's because I'm a psychic astrologer. Okay. I am a Pisces astrologer based on the stargazer asteroid that will tell you what type of astrologer you are, and is right next to Mercury. Okay. And so this is why I get a lot of downloads and stuff in the 11th house. Okay, so it's very high peak. 11th house is high peak, is tall buildings, skyscrapers, like the highest, that's the 11th house. Groups, circles, societies, all of that. Um, and in Pisces, it's super spiritual. So anyway, the moon here is coming together with Tai Chi, and Tai Chi in Sagittarius, that has to do with countries. It's at 15 degrees of communication. Okay, so when we release what we need to release with themes of Sagittarius, with something that's not helping you grow, that you felt stuck or adapted into, it could be a friend, it could be a couple, it could be a relationship, a situation. It can be anything. Okay. It is when you release that, then you come into Tai Chi. Okay. This asteroid of a windfall of money that comes in. It's so interesting. It kind of reminds me of toilets, right? When you have a plugged toilet and you try to flush it and it doesn't want to flush. And I say that because that's happened to us before, and we've had to use the plumber thing, the Drano. There's so many brands, but I'm not going to mention brands. But it's the Drano thing, and then you use the pumper thing, and then you can flush it, right? So something is stuck in the toilet, and what happens is, this is exactly a metaphor that when you release something, the money comes in, flushing in, right? And that could be a situation that maybe you have to release something that you've adapted to for a long, long time, that most likely was a lie. Okay. Most likely, it was a belief that you believe, because Sagittarius is about beliefs as well. And it's a belief that you how you were raised as a child, right? If you were raised in a community like I was, and I know many, many people that come from my generation of Chiron and Aries, they were raised on their own. They were independent. They lived in households that were broken homes, and they had to fend for themselves and be independent. And so, where I lived, the community, it was not the best community. So I was raised upon, this growing up with having to save money, you know, and in today's world, that rule doesn't apply anymore, and all this time, it's somebody that can be raised upon, money is the root of all evil, right? And then you grow up and then you tend to think money is the root of all evil. So if somebody's going to offer you an opportunity, you're not going to take it because you say root is, money is the root of all evil, because that's how you were raised, right? And that's not how I was raised. But well, I don't know, I guess you could kind of think about that, because the way I was raised was, you have to save money, right? And you cannot waste money, right? Like being frugal, right? And so maybe if I had a lot of money, I interpret it this way, where, because I needed to save money, right? Because they were tight, the times were tight on the money, so I had to save money. Every Sunday they would give me salary, for cleaning or something like that. My dad would give me like $3 or $5, and I would save it like every Sunday. We had like this money thing. It was a ritual, I guess, that we had. So if you do the chores for the week, or on Sunday, you get paid. So I used to save it in my piggy bank, but I guess is the fact that I was not able to spend the money, like spend it how I want to spend it, right? um it was like it was like kind of saying that money is the root of all evil, because if you have so much money, you're going to spend it all. You don't know how to you don't know how to spend money, which that what was told. You don't know how to spend money. You're always spending money. You don't know how to save. You don't know how to save money. And so because I don't know how to I don't know how to save the money, and I spend it all, then that is the root of all evil, because you don't know how to use it wisely, So it could, I could see it there, you know what I mean? I also want to say that there's a lot of clarity going on right now, because it is opposing Uranus, this full moon. So even when I woke up, I heard the word clarity. Okay, there's something that has cleared out, or there's something that is clear to people, to the collective. There's some clarity that is like, aha, and that's because Uranus is opposing it. Okay. So Uranus it's what says, ta-da, it's like, it finds things and it says, see, that was in the truth. This is the truth. So, um, so that's my explanation of how I was raised, that I had to save money and not waste so much money because money's tight. And so when we have that type of thinking in our adult lives, we have to unlearn that learning that we learned when we were children, because now, even though I love to, and I think maybe that's one of the reasons I'm a spender, because I was not allowed to spend. So I'm doing the opposite, But see, the way I see about spending, I'm not like totally overspending, but I am a Libra moon. I have a lot of Libra. Libras love to shop. I mean, you can ask any Libra, they love to shop. They'll shop till they drop. And I just love to buy now. I used to spend a lot, but now I spend on things that matter, things that are going to give me my ROI, things that, are going to bring results, right? And I still, will try a product here or there, just, because I have an open mind and I'm like, let me try this, and it's good to do that. You want to have an open mind, but, the odds is that it might not work out. It might not be the best product for you, and that's okay. You tried it, throw it out. It doesn't, you don't have to keep it, right? So that's what I do. And so I'll give it a chance to try a brand new product, and if it doesn't work for me, I'll just throw it out. But I normally try not to. I normally try to stick to the products that do give me results. And like I mentioned, I use mud soap on my face, and I've been using it for 12 years, 12 plus years. Okay. It's been a long time, and I have not used anything else on my face. I don't use anything else on my face. And I only use that certain brand. Okay. I haven't found anything better, and I have given a try. I said, well, let me get off this. Let me give it a break. Right. And let me go to Target. I went to Target, and one of the best products that you can see over the counter, and I used it on my face, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I got to go back on that mud soap, that I've been using for many, many years. I have not found anything better. And so sometimes it's better to just stick to what works versus trying, but you can try it. And if it doesn't work, well, now you got to be loyal to what is working, right? Versus not going somewhere and just trying. But it's okay to try. It's okay to experiment, because we're having all these energies right now. With Uranus and Gemini is about experimentation. Pluto in Aquarius is about experimentation. And then the North Node is going to enter Aquarius. It's going to be about what? Experimentation. Okay. So it's good to experiment, but if it just doesn't work, just throw it out, right? And I am a shopper, and so forth. And I think I do it on purpose, because I was not allowed to spend a lot, but I'm trying not to be rebel in that way, and understand that I'm just trying to punish that frequency that didn't let me spend, right? But I spend now only on things that give me a result. Okay. And I try not to overspend, so, but I'm a girl. I love girl stuff. I'm an influencer, so I even get influenced by other influencers in TikTok a lot. And I just love beauty. I love to look good. I love to smell good. I love to have a clean room, and beautiful, like, pillow covers and big giant pillows, and it just makes me feel elevated. It makes me feel good. I've been doing a lot of decoration in my room as well and stuff, and minimizing things as well, because I don't want it looks like an art room, because I have a lot of vision boards as well. So, but I try to, it looks classy as well. So, I've been doing a lot of innovating. So anyway, the moon coming together with Tai Chi here, whatever you release, understand that you got to release that so money can enter. So a flood of money can enter, because Tai Chi is a big asteroid of a lot of money. Okay. Now, let's see. Uh, okay, so we also have this other asteroid in Sagittarius. It's called Rage, And this asteroid here is actually ruled by Germany. Okay, the word rage is in Germany, and let me see what the that I have not done much research on this asteroid, but um, I want to know what does it mean in German. Let's see here. I know it has to do with money or something. Okay, so it says in German, the noun Reich generally translates to realm, empire, or kingdom. So it refers to sovereignty territory governed by a monarch or state. For example, Kaiserreich translates to empire, and I don't know how you say this. Königreich means kingdom. I don't think I said it right there, but you guys get the point there. So in English, the word is most infamily associated with Germany, um, regime, and the Holy Roman Empire, and the unified German Empire of 1871. Okay, so this is more about like royalty, empire, kingdom, sovereignty. What was the recent word? Dynasty. That was a download I heard 2 days ago, or I think a day ago. And it's at, let me look at here. Okay, it's at 23 degrees of rebellion. Okay. So it's innovation, it's change, and so forth. And that's coming together with that Tai Chi of of just unexplained money coming in, you know, of just a windfall, of money that might come in. It might be, maybe you have ancestors that are German. Maybe it might be a company that's ruled by Germany. I used to work for a German line when I was in international trade in Arizona. It was called Center Alliance, and it was ruled by Germany. And I had no knowledge of astrology back then, so I had no clue, not even about astrocartography or nothing like that. I didn't even know I had that German line, not full 100%, but because of my grandfather's last name, it's German. So there can be that German and derived there from that last name. It's German in Italy, and that's where my Saturn line crosses. So Saturn has to do with grandfathers and men with money and so forth. So that is interesting there. And I didn't know, when I worked for the German line in Arizona, I got paid really well. Then they merged with an Asian line, but at the time I started first with the German line there, and I had no idea that I had ties to ancestry. So that was really interesting there, and it paid really well. So anyway, this is something about innovating, something about empire, and we're probably going to start noticing a lot of that going on, because we're dealing with countries when it comes to Sagittarius. Okay, there's a lot of themes of countries, a lot of things happening around the world. What's going on in Cuba, right? The U.S. wants to take over Cuba because the Cuban uh, government is not helping the Cuban people. Poor Cubans. I feel so bad. I'm not gonna lie. Yesterday, I kind of cried. Um, I seen a video. I had to share it on X, and it was about two Cubans that they wanted the Cuban back, the Cuban country back, and there were these two men, and they were hugging each other, and they only have each other, and they want their country back, and it's a mess in Cuba right now, and it gave me uh, some teardrops. And I don't know, I'm just like very emotional now and so forth. And it's a very sad thing, because you got to think it's really hot over there. You can't be blaming the females over there, the way they dress or anything, because it's so hot, and they have no air conditioner. They have just nothing, no electricity, nothing. I don't know how they're surviving. There's no food. I think China had donated water to them or something, which is a good thing. But it's sad of what they're going through, but hopefully we pray for change, that change will happen there. So you're going to be hearing a lot of stories around the world of different countries of what they're going through and so forth. Okay. And there's something that ends. Okay. That's what the full moon's about. It's about endings. And let me head to this real quick here. With the opposition here, um, with it's opposing the sun, which naturally that's what a full moon is. The moon and the sun, they oppose each other, and we know the sun's in Gemini, and it is opposing. Let me grab it here. Why doesn't hang on? Oh, it's over here. Okay, so I wonder why it's not showing. Well, anyway, it's not showing here, but the moon is opposing Uranus. Okay, so Uranus is in Gemini, and Uranus, um, it's at, oh, Uranus just jumped into 2 degrees. Okay, so it was at 1 degrees. It ruled fire, it ruled war, it ruled all that. It just jumped at the degree of wealth. Okay, and let me make sure here. Yeah. And so it's in the third house of communication. So our communication is very, very important right now. Um, and is very rebellious right now. Okay. And it's at 2 degrees of wealth. Okay, this has to do a lot of the communication, a lot of the communication that is going on has to do with money. Okay, it has to do with money. It has to do with land, with real estate, with status, with all of that. Your assets, vehicles, all of that. Okay, and there is an opposition here with the moon as we release things of Sagittarius, the things that are not helping you grow, and it opposes Uranus. Uranus can bring these opportunities to communicate. I'm hearing the word welcome, something about welcome. Uranus, in the sign of people. Okay, uh, with the third house of communication, siblings. It could be short travel. Maybe you want to make a trip somewhere or some forth. Something innovating. Okay. And that's because you release something. Now things are free. Now you feel more light. Now you feel like you don't have that much responsibility, or you're not stuck. You're not stagnant anymore because maybe you release a certain Sagittarius in your life. It doesn't have to be all the time that. Okay, it could just be that you're releasing something that was just keeping you too stuck. Maybe something that has been happening a long time ago. That has just kept you stuck in with them. And has not you have not been able to innovate. You have not able to do much. Maybe by now you would have did something really big, and you haven't been able to do it because it's been like stuck there. Maybe they might have some Scorpio in their chart, right? When you have that Scorpio Sagittarius, strong Scorpio with Sagittarius, that person can keep you really stuck and really controlled. Okay, and like dominating you and so forth, and it didn't allow you to break through. It didn't allow you to do big things in life. It didn't allow you because you didn't want to do it with him, literally. And so, you're like, no, I need to innovate. I need to travel. I need to explore. I need to learn. You don't want to do that because you're lazy. Well, you be lazy by yourself. You be sick by yourself. Okay. And you be poor by yourself. I'm going this way. Okay. And so that could be an example there that we're communicating about money, about wealth. We want to make money. We don't want to be stuck with someone that we're not going to make money with. Okay. So that's that opposition there. And there's a yod happening. Okay. The yod is a finger of God, where God is right on the full moon. It is right on the moon. That is where the finger of God is. Okay, where God is saying, release that thing that is keeping you stuck. Okay, whatever it is, release it now. And the finger of God is pointing towards that. Okay, and the apex, that's where it's at. And so, you know you got to release. You just got to release. Okay, in order, if you want your life to improve, you got to release what is keeping you stuck. Okay, you just do. You got to make hard decisions, and you say, this is my life. Okay, I cannot continue this way. I got to release this. Okay. And let's see here. What is doing also, the moon is trining gold. Okay, so this Sagittarius full moon, it's in harmony with gold. So we're going to be hearing talks about gold. I know Donald Trump's been talking about it too. I don't know what he's talking about. Something about gold, and I don't know where. But he thinks there's gold there, and they should dig for gold or something. But there's something with this full moon, is something that is let go, and maybe you find gold. That could be it. As you release this, here comes gold, right? Or maybe you have this attraction towards gold, and it's in the sign of Leo at 7 degrees of relationships, 7 degrees of contracts, 7 degrees of the people you work with. Okay, it could be partnerships. It doesn't always have to be a couple, or it doesn't have to be someone you're interested or something. It could, but not always. It could just be a friend, or some sort of a leader, right? It doesn't always have to be a Leo either. It could just be a leader. And let me look at, it is in the fifth house. Okay, so it's somebody you take a gamble with. Okay, where you express yourself. The key phrase there with Leo and gold is I express. Okay, what was Donald Trump doing? He was expressing, right? So the fifth house has anything to do with children. It has to do with enjoyment, pleasures, amusement parks, vacations, the lottery. Okay, it could be just sports, gambling, anything, the casinos, all of that. Okay, anything that involves fun. It could be a game of poker, maybe going to Vegas and playing Russian roulette. Maybe you'll win some money or something, you'll find some gold. So the moon there is making that opportunity there with gold. Okay. Um, is actually it's in harmony. It's not making an opportunity. Well, there it could be an opportunity too to find gold. So um let me see these trines over here. Okay, so the moon also is making a trine to Saturn. Okay, I should be wrapping up pretty soon. The moon is making a trine to Saturn here. Okay, in Aries. Okay, so that's a good thing, because when the moon and Saturn come together, that means there's protection. Okay, but again, you have to release something in order for you to have that protection, in order for you to be supported by people with money, by older people, mature people, people that are going to support you and back you up, and give you a hand, right? It's at 12 degrees, okay, of secrecy. So Saturn at 12 degrees, it could be a little bit invisible energy. Um, it could be at invisible energy. I had to drink some tea. Saturn in the 12 degrees could be invisible energy. It can be hidden energy that is not in the spotlight. It's kind of like people that make, like, charitable donations. Sometimes they say, yeah, I'd like to donate so and so money, but I don't want people to know that I gave it, that it was me. So they go invisible. And the Bible does speak about that. Sometimes, when you pray, or when you give money like that, sometimes it's best not to be telling everybody of what you just did. That's between you and God, or that's between you and that company. And don't be, yeah, and it could be like NDAs as well, signing NDAs and so forth. It's something that's hidden, something that's quiet, something that's not being said because, you maybe perhaps is a Sagittarius, because we're in the full moon Sagittarius, might find out and is going to want a piece of the pie, right? And so it's best to, especially if you're trying to get away from that Sagittarius, right? Or it doesn't have to be a Sagittarius. It could just be somebody that's, I don't know, something that has to end with that Sagittarius. It could be like real immaturity and irresponsibility. It could be a person that is just um, is not good for you. It's not healthy enough for you. Is irresponsible, doesn't have a job, um, is not wanting to take responsibility, right? It wants to steal your money, it wants to take advantage of you. And so that's why there's a full moon. We have to let that go. And when you let that go, then you'll have the backing of billionaires, rich people, older people, mature people, and so forth. You got to take your life serious. It doesn't have to be that serious, but you don't want to live, you want to be responsible, because the people that are responsible are the ones that are going to make a lot of money. Okay, it's not going to be the irresponsible people. God does not put money into the hands of those that are irresponsible. He puts them in the hands of the people that are responsible. The ones that, yeah, I'm hearing you concluded. Something about you concluded. Yeah, I did. There was a lot that I did. Um, Another thing here, the moon and Neptune are also in harmony as well. So Neptune can be a little bit deceptive, but because it's at 4 degrees right now, it's a stability degree in Neptune in the sign of Aries. It's more about stability. Okay, it's more about structure. It is about control and controlling yourself and not being too wishy-washy, or not lying so much, because that comes with consequences. And that is where Neptune is, at 4 degrees. Okay, and it is in harmony with the moon, the full moon in Sagittarius. Okay, so right now the Neptune is not too deceptive. I'm gonna say that it's not too deceptive right now. Right now it's pretty serious, Neptune. It doesn't want to fool around. It wants to make money. It realized the times we're entering right now, it's time to take it serious. Okay, it's not time to fool around, and it's really time to take it serious. Let me see what. Um, oh yeah, you know why? Neptune right now, um, this is something to take serious. Neptune is coming together exactly with this asteroid of rest in peace, and it's also at 4 degrees. Okay, so so interesting. I've been seeing a lot of like war going on between the police. I don't know where I seen it. I don't know if it was. I think it was probably an X. I don't think it was a television. I think it, because I don't watch television unless my dad's watching it and I just pass through there. But uh, I think it was X, and it was a video where the police was, yeah, it was a police that was fighting people. I don't know what country it was. I can't remember what country it was. um, but they were, oh yeah, it was France, it was Paris, and then the police was fighting, and then the people were the rebels, the rebel young people were there throwing like fireworks, or I don't know what they were throwing, and the cops were, they were hurting the young people. They didn't care, so it could be something like that, like a war kind of breaks out, or a mini war, I would say, between the young people and the cops and the police. And with this Neptune here at 4 degrees, that is serious, is coming together with rest in peace in the sign of Aries at 4 degrees as well. So it could be police brutality, that they either kill whatever this deception was trying to bring into a country, and somebody dies. Okay, it could be the cops, it could be the young people, the rebels in France, for example. And so there could be bloodshed there in the sign of Aries. And when this when this asteroid of rest in peace is coming together with any planet, especially Neptune, okay, it can mean that there could be dead people, okay, because Aries has to do with war. Okay. Even though Neptune, it might be deceptive, it might be, but when it does come together with rest in peace, okay, it could be that it might be near the water. It could be that it has to do with drugs. It has to do with alcoholism. It has to do with maybe drinking and driving as well. So be careful of that, because Aries also has to do with travel. Maybe as you're traveling, protect yourself, because especially if you're traveling near water or something, this rest in peace asteroid, it's in the sign of Aries. It left Pisces. It was in Pisces, okay? Now it's in Aries. So it's more likely that people can die in wars, in fights, in arguments, or anything like that. And anybody can just pull out a gun and just shoot you for because you said something, or anything like that. So just be careful of that, okay? So that is what we have here. I didn't want to talk more about it. I could, but I gotta get going here. Um, so my thing is, because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Let's head out there real quick here. It's at the degree of innovation, so it's a great time to be innovating, okay? It's a great time to innovate there, because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, okay? And let me just look at what house it's in. Um, okay, it's in the house of life, in the fifth house of fun. So there's something that you can be lucky when it comes to gambling, when it comes to playing the lotto. Like I had mentioned, I won some money yesterday, not a lot, but I got the mega number, and I got like another number. So I was like, I don't care how much it is, as long as I'm testing my luck and I'm winning. That's all that matters to me, right? Because if you keep playing, keep playing, keep playing, eventually it's gonna just hit the lotto. Is gonna, hit the jackpot, whatever it is, right? If you don't quit. So, and I only do it for fun. Okay, I'm not overdoing it or nothing like that. I'm not all crazy, crazy for the lottery, No, but when I do have a couple dollars, I'll use the machine. And now there's machines, right, where you can just put your money in there. You don't even have to make line to buy a ticket. And yeah, so I like that because that's much more faster. But yeah, so that's what's going on right now. And it's a lucky time to manifest money, a lucky time to, but you have to first release. It's the same thing like manifestation. Manifestation is not going to happen if you're stuck, because the stuckness energies has to do with survival, okay? And you can't manifest when you're in survival, when your thoughts are just in survival, of, oh, I'm just getting by, I just have to do this. Well, you're not going to be able to manifest that. You have to have a bigger mindset, okay? A grandiose mindset. And there's tools for that. You can use perfumes, and you can use oils, and you can use candles, and you can use prayer. You can walk out in nature. You can, get out of your environment. You can do things to elevate, eat healthy food, right? Eat healthy food that actually is like drinking coffee with cinnamon. Cinnamon has to do with money, and things like that, that amplify your energy, because you cannot manifest when you're in survival, okay? So this is why you have to let go whatever you were in survival in the sign of Sagittarius, and release it, so a flood of water, so the Red Sea can part, and you can go in and get your manna and get your milk and honey, right? But it doesn't happen until you take action, okay? It does not happen when you're in survival. It happens when you say, I don't care what my situation I'm in, but I'm going to go in, right? Just like my turtle, right? He didn't care. He took a leap. And then what did he receive? An applause, right? And so that's what we have to do. Be courageous. Be courageous in what we're doing to manifest that money, to bring it in, okay? But it's not going to happen just sitting there. It's not going to happen not taking action. It's not going to happen when you're afraid. It's not going to happen when you're fearful. It's just not going to happen there when you're in survival. That's not how you manifest. You got to change the channel, change that channel of the radio station, change that radio station to a better hertz. right? The megahertz, change it from, whatever you were listening to, rapping music, whatever that was not helping you. And now you listen to 528 hertz of love, a frequency of love. And now what's happening? All the money's coming in. And you're like, wow, you mean to tell me that I had to release that to get this? Wow, I should have did it before, right? So that's just an example. So anyway, this is Laura Francesca here with the full moon here in Sagittarius. That is going to be happening for the following weeks under this portal. So if you did like the podcast, do like, do share, do tell your friends, do subscribe so I can continue doing these episodes here and we can all elevate and have more awareness. Okay. And again, if you want to visit the website, you can at www.starzenith33.com and you can go look around there. Okay. So have a great day and I will talk to you soon.